You're listening to the Huddle Up Podcast with Chad Jensen and Zack Kelberman. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com and sound off. And now it's time to drop some knowledge.
Hello and welcome to the Huddle Up Podcast. Tonight I am filling in for Chad Jensen. My name is Jonathan Cronenberg. You know me usually as Buona Beast. And joining me today is Zack Kelberman. Zack, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, Chad. John. It's not the first time I'm going to do that. That was, on purpose, but accidentally I'm going to call you Chad a bunch tonight. Just be cognizant of that. Chad is on vacation right now, enjoying himself in sunny Florida right now while we're potting away. But we have some things to go over, more quarterback rumors and speculation tied to the Broncos. But I'm excited to get back after a weekend of not podcasting. But how about you, John? How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. We've had a couple of good shows in terms of Facebook with Kelberman's Corner and Trickle Zone. So I'm not sure if you saw a clip from the Trickle Zone. It's really been helping me get ready for the draft. So that's been great. And really just excited to get talking to everybody. It's been so long since I've been able to speak to people in front of them face to face, or face to, phone, whatever it may be, instead of just Twitter. So it's a great time to, be able to speak with everyone.
Yeah, for sure. It's we've done this a few times now, John, you and I. Yeah. So it's no big deal. The beast is in the building, though. What's up, Darib? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. What's up, George? Quick shout out to some people in the comment section: Jason, Michaela, Albert, Ernie, Joseph. Muhammad. I see you guys. Muhammad, what's good, man? Michael, Ty, what's up, guys? We have, like we mentioned earlier, John, or I mentioned earlier, a very quarterback-driven, quarterback-centric podcast. Because isn't every Broncos podcast quarterback-driven? It doesn't seem to ever go away until the Broncos decide what they want to do, which we talked about that today in Kelberman's Corner. Mm-hmm. But yes, the first topic we want to go over is something I just wrote. In fact, it was about Mitch Trubisky, and the latest scuttlebutt there before we hop into our Manscaped read for the evening, John, is that the Broncos showed some interest in signing Mitchell Trubisky before he ended up signing a value bargain basement bin kind of deal with the Buffalo Bills. So it seems like the Broncos are definitely in the market for a quarterback. They hadn't been tied to Trubisky before that. They haven't been tied to many veterans before that. So it's been surprising when that report came out. But what do you take of it, John, the Broncos' interest? Do you think that was just a due diligence, or do you think they were legitimately wanting a veteran quarterback behind Drew Lock?
I think they legitimately were taking a look at Trubisky. I think ultimately they decided not to go with a deal, obviously, and take a look at other avenues. But in the end, as you said, that is a really cheap deal, $2.5 million, I believe it was, for a single year. As as someone to be in competition with Locke, that really adds a lot of value. And again, you cut Driscoll maybe, and you save that money, and it kind of lines up nicely where it's a 1-for-1 kind of deal. And it really allows, Locke and Trubisky to go at competition each other. You don't have to worry about drafting a quarterback or going in depth about trading up. So there was definitely interest at the beginning. I just obviously think they wanted to view other avenues.
And they haven't signed a quarterback, though. So still we're led to believe, John, it's March 28th now. The draft is in a month from tomorrow. The first round of the draft will take place. And we still don't know for sure what the Broncos will do at quarterback. Are they running it back with Drew Lock for another season? Will they make that big move for Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Fields, whoever? We just don't know yet. But there's been small, little, minuscule reports of the Broncos beating around the veteran quarterback bush. And we heard about Fitzpatrick before. Nothing really about Dalton. They had no interest there. The Nick Foles trade market, that's a little cool right now, but it seems like the ex-Bear is Trubisky, who they're kind of talking to. But it's no surprise either that Vic Fangio coached in Chicago when Trubisky was there. As a backup, I wouldn't have cried. For $2.25 million, he's the backup now to Josh Allen. That's a great deal for Buffalo. And he could have been that dual threat kind of guy that Locke could have learned from. There are some similarities to Trubisky, more so than a Ryan Fitzpatrick or a Case Keenum or any other veteran quarterback the Broncos country wanted to bring in. I wouldn't have hated the move. It just signals to me if this report has any veracity at all. And from the Boston Globe's Ben Volen, it does a little bit. The Broncos aren't done looking for a quarterback, and it's a matter of when, not if, they bring in that guy. We just don't know, again, who that guy will be.
And one thing that I'm curious about is, did Trubisky have an option? If so, why would he choose Buffalo over Denver where he could compete? So that's also an idea where maybe they just were beating around the bush a little bit, trying to get feelers, understand where the market was going as well. So little stuff you can glean from each kind of roster move by other teams and the moves you don't make as well.
Exactly. And you know what? For Trubisky, it's smart. I mean, he's taken a prove-it deal, but he's going to one of the best quarterback gurus in the entire NFL, and Brian Daboll, the same coach who resuscitated Josh Allen and made him an MVP frontrunner. He can go there and resurrect his own career and maybe sign elsewhere next offseason. So great move for Buffalo, and it's interesting, like you just mentioned, the moves the Broncos don't make are almost as impactful as the moves the Broncos do make. And again, it's just a matter of time. We don't know whether it's going to be, like we're going to talk about Sam Darnold, Nick Foles. Yes. They're going to maybe a veteran that's Alex Smith. Maybe they draft Mac Jones or Trey Lance. We do not know, but it seems like it's fait accompli. The Broncos will bring in a quarterback at some point this offseason.
And as we get going here, just want to remind you, follow us on Twitter at HuddleUpPod. You can follow the mother account at Mile High Huddle. Also, don't forget to go over to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Go ahead and subscribe there. We're going to have some new content going up as always. And you can also go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and become a supporter. Start joining some of our different groups like the Trickle Zone we have going as a show. We have Kelberman's Corner as another show. So we have a lot of different shows that are starting to be developed and we're very excited about. Also, if you have the opportunity, you're well off, please go ahead and check out our merch store at huddleuppod.com. And finally, the simplest thing, the most organic way you can help us is simply to subscribe, like, and share. I know Michaela has been pushing that recently for us, and it makes a huge difference when you do that. And especially if someone joins us, make sure that you get your shout out, and we'll definitely shout you out as well. So appreciate that.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Quickest matters of business ever, John. Okay. I love it. Record time. I'm good with that. More time for Broncos football talk. But yeah, as you know, I don't know if we can pull it up or not, but Daniel Jeremiah was on KOA. I believe it was over the weekend or a couple days, within the last couple of days. Mm-hmm. And he suggested or indicated or hinted, whatever word you want to use, that the Broncos should swing not a first-round pick, but a second-round pick. I believe that's what the intimation was for Sam Darnold. He believes doing that would solve the Broncos' quarterback issues and also allow them to preserve their number 9 overall draft pick to use on another position of need. Again, this is one man's opinion, and this was rooted in the logic that because George Paton and the Denver Broncos did not address Drew Lock's backup, they did not address quarterback, he's taking the no activity as a sign that he's not sold on Drew Lock. That's how Daniel Jeremiah, John, perceives that. That the fact that they haven't given a full-blown commitment to the last year's starter, the incumbent, suggests that the Broncos are not happy with him and the Broncos will end up replacing him. I think that's a little bit of a leap to make, because you can also make the argument that the Broncos are not bringing anyone in because they like Drew Lock, because they're running it back with Drew Lock, because they're supporting Drew Lock. It's, again, he's as plugged in as they come, Daniel Jeremiah, and what he says definitely holds weight. He's hearing things from sources. He has people in the building. His opinion is the Broncos should make a move for Sam Darnold. I don't think a second-round pick is worth it for – I talked about this on KK today because no Broncos show can go without quarterback talk. He's damaged goods. I mean, he's the antithesis of damaged goods. You can mine that river for gold, but you have to be in the right place at the right time with the right mining equipment to get that gold. And if you follow my analogy here, the Broncos do not have that mining equipment. If you send him to San Francisco, I have no doubt that Sam Darnold will blossom there under Kyle Shanahan. You bring him to Denver, though. You take on that contract. You take on that baggage. You give up a second-round pick, and you pull him into Pat Shurmur's clutches. So you're banking on Pat Shurmur developing and saving a young quarterback 1 year after he failed to develop and save a young quarterback. So with all due respect to Daniel Jeremiah, John, I hate this idea. Keep your second-round pick, use it elsewhere, and either draft a quarterback in the first round or run it back with Locke in 2021.
So I'm not as hard against the keeping Darnold out of the building and not trading for him. I just want it to be a deal where you have certain levers which indicate what pick goes. So it'd be a future pick, obviously. And again, the contract isn't something where I'm so against it either, because he still has that 5th-year option to exercise if you like what he does this year. And you can have that be a part of the stipulation in the deal where if you exercise that 5th-year option, maybe it goes up to a second-round pick instead of a third round. But again, that's using the 5th-year option, which we'll be able to use as the Broncos because he was traded, not released. So that gives you a little bit of different flexibility. Plus, you can use the franchise tag then in the future, again, if you're still not committed. But at that point, you're just waiting for the quarterback and going through having those issues of, we're pulling through for 8-8 and we have a great team around you, and you're kind of wasting it. How can you not use Sutton, Judy, Hamler, and Patrick when they're all available right now?
I think the same criticisms that people say about Locke would also apply to Sam Darnold. And you bring up the franchise tag. You know what that price is going to be going forward for a 1-year quarterback deal. I'm not willing to pay Sam Darnold $25-30 million when you don't even know yet if he's your long-term quarterback. He's just a rental. And, I'm tired of rentals. I'm tired of other people's garbage. I want the Broncos to develop their own quarterback, whether that's Locke, whether that's Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Kellen Mond. I don't care. I'm just tired of settling for everyone else's sloppy seconds. And that's what literally Sam Darnold would represent in Denver. And I mentioned this earlier, like I said, but the reason he bombed out in New York was because of bad coaching and Adam Gase. And you want to bring him into Denver to put him with Pat Shurmur, who we all can agree by now is not the right choice, or most of us can, as the Broncos offensive coordinator. He showed no ability last year, no expertise at all with Locke. He did not develop him. Locke regressed under Pat Shurmur. So you have a quarterback in New York who saw a ghost. What would he see in, Denver? He would see monsters and demons. I don't want to take a chance on that.
Right. I think this is just a backup placement, which is why you have to have it be a conditional pick. You can't, be giving a 2nd-round pick this year, pick 40, and even pick 71. That's hard to give up. Would you rather take the risk and, go with a rookie quarterback a little bit later, like David Mills or Jamie Newman? Still not sold there. But at the same time, these quarterbacks, I'd rather go with someone else that's a veteran option. I'm not interested in giving up more capital for the Broncos. And I don't think that's what Peyton wants, or Patton. No, it is Peyton. Peyton wants to do.
It's just so funny to me. I don't necessarily see this, this quarterback god in training in Sam Darnold. I don't see this guy who's a franchise potential quarterback based on a couple great throws he made during his tenure with the Jets. You can say the same exact thing about Drew Lock. He's made some unbelievable throws, the way he changes his arm angle, the way he throws off platform. No, he's far from perfect. He has a long way to go, but he is making the same plays that Sam Darnold has made, yet he's already in the system. You've already committed to him. He's a lot cheaper. You don't have to give up a draft pick. You can have continuity and give him the chance once and for all to sink or swim on his own volition. The last thing I want the Broncos to do is export one shaky quarterback and import another shaky quarterback. It's a lateral move, and you can argue it'd actually be a downgrade going from Drew Lock to Sam Darnold. That's how I feel.
Yeah, again, the only, next year for 2022, he'd be making about $19 million. That's quite a hefty amount of change if you're not sold on him as well. So that is a lot to put into him. And
what would Drew Lock make next year?
A million or so, what is that? It's very little with how the cap is structured, being a, 40th overall pick versus the 3rd overall pick.
Right. And that's what the Broncos have the cost control lock in their clutches already. And we talk about Pat Shurmur. It sucks, but they're stuck with him for this season. So I'd rather the Broncos roll with the quarterback that Pat Shurmur's invested a year in already than bringing in Sam Darnold, because how long would he realistically be the backup here, John? How long before the media starts calling? How long before the fan has the team Drew versus team, the team Sam, pitting them one versus the other? It would only be a matter of time, given his draft pedigree, given his notoriety, given the baggage he brings along. I'd rather leave Drew unfettered if that's the way they're going. Brett Rippon can handle the backup duties. I'd rather, even as a backup, avoid Sam Darnold for the reasons you mentioned, for the reasons I believe. Let him go elsewhere or stay in New York. You don't have to always chase someone else's sloppy seconds.
There is a reason why teams are not lining up to pick up Darnold. At this point, the Jets thought they could get a 1st. They thought they could get a 2nd. Now they're talking about a 3rd. So it keeps going back further and further until that point where it's going to be just to get him out of the building so Zach Wilson can have a good start and that kind of thing instead of having someone over his shoulder, similar to Locke. So I definitely understand that. And even if the Broncos were to trade up and acquire a quarterback and you were to ship off Locke, I don't know if I want, Darnold being a tutor to any quarterback that's young.
Exactly.
Really.
Exactly.
So real quick, I just want to give a shout out to Mohammed saying, hello, rock stars. Mohammed Badri in the house with $5. I always appreciate you, Mohammed. This is my first time being able to say it to you kind of more directly, so just want to give you a real shout out, and I really do appreciate that.
Mo's the best. We appreciate your support also in KK today, as always, Mo, so thank you so much.
Perfect. Give me 1 second to pull these up. Okay, we got Burn the Cantaris coming in. Hey, John, glad to see you, my man. Just sending some love, and I really do appreciate that. I know we had Michaela up a little bit earlier. It seems like we had a little bit of a jump, so why don't you take one of these questions while I go ahead and grab it on the back end.
Yeah, I'll take this one from Larry. I want to just make one point, though.
Okay, go ahead.
Even real quick on Sam Darnold and the Broncos quarterback, even if they used a mid-round pick on someone like, let's say, Kellen Mond, you don't really know yet, or it's a fact, you don't know yet what his upside at the NFL level will be. You don't know what he could be in the NFL. And based on what we've seen so far, if Broncos fans can say that about Drew Lock, if they can come to that conclusion that we've seen what we're going to see, then I can say the same exact thing about Sam Darnold. It goes both ways. But if you want to pull that question from Larry back up, I don't know why it went off the screen. I can take that real quick as you navigate the back end. Thank you. Perfect. All right, Larry, jumping in, $5 donation. Thank you so much, Larry. And again, guys, we're a little disjointed tonight because usually we have John as the producer, but with Chad gone, John's filling in today, so just be patient with us tonight. But Larry asked, we could give up the team washing machine for Darnold, and that may be too steep a price. Running it back with Locke is the logical move. I've never really heard that. I've heard the bag of chips. I've heard the bag of footballs. I've never heard the washing machine. So I love that, Larry. Thank you. And I'm of the same mind. At this point, you didn't bring in a Fitzpatrick. You didn't bring in an Andy Dalton. You're not probably going to bring in a Deshaun Watson. At this point, Trey Lance looks like an impossibility. So unless you move up for a Fields, the most realistic and probable outcome is the Broncos going back again with Drew Lock for 2021. And Larry or anybody else out there, if you've watched the show since January, we have tried to guide you and hold your hand and have training wheels on the bike while we lead you along to the conclusion that the Broncos likely will start him for one more year. Because, John, specifically, George Paton, who has more influence than you, than me, than anyone out there on the show right now, he still believes in Drew Lock. And until that changes, the Broncos quarterback situation won't change either.
I have the same feeling when it comes to that. Running it back with Locke, to me, is the logical move. So we're going to keep it rolling a little bit faster here just so we can keep up with the Supers. We had a few fallback, which I'll get at the end. Appreciate that. We got Stu back in here, George. By the way. Zeus, it is great to see you. Glad that you're able to come back in here. It's been a while. Hope things are going well.
Stu, look at that love for Stu. What a legend. The Huddle Up Pod, Mount Rushmore, number one of one, George Washington of the podcast. Thank you, Stu. Love you, Stu. Appreciate you, Stu. But we have some comments in the comment section here. There's some Jets fans tuning in tonight, John, and some of them say he needs to change his scenery, and other Jets fans say he's still straight up dumpster juice. So I'm inclined to believe that the jury's still out on him, but we can say the same thing about Drew Lock. And again, you don't have to give up a draft pick, nor make an investment, nor take on the sideshow if you just stay with Drew Lock. So like Larry, I'm of the mind you run it back one more time, and win or lose, it's the way to go.
Yeah. So here's coming from Dennis Woods. He's giving us a super for $2. What's wrong with Alex Smith?
Thank you, Dennis.
Yes, thank you so much. It's great to talk to you.
Well, he's older. He's limited. His leg is hanging on by a thread. And I say that with complete respect and sincerity for Alex Smith. What he did last year was unbelievable. But there's a reason why Washington, that's as bereft for a quarterback as the Broncos are, they moved on. They saw what they had in him, and they're going in a different direction. As a mentor, as a whatever, as a backup, as a failsafe, I wouldn't hate it. But there is a reason, John, that other quarterbacks are getting job offers like the Trubiskys and like the Tyrod Taylors and like the Jacoby Brissetts. And Alex Smith, the NFL Comeback Player of the Year, is still on the open market. There's a reason for that. I would not be surprised if not long from now he decides to call it quits. It's a learning curve.
Yes, it is. Going from back end to front end. But you don't think a team would want him maybe on the after the draft would be interested in seeing if he would be a good fit? second wave of free agency for Alex Smith?
That's a good point. Yeah, maybe as teams go into training camp and there's an injury or teams get complacent with their quarterback situations, he could get a job. But the Broncos, like I tell Chad all the time, they can't wait to settle that position. And if, again, they wanted Alex Smith, they would have signed him by now. If they wanted some old, crusty veteran backup, they would have signed an old, crusty veteran backup. They've shown little interest here and there. But the quarterback's job that I find interesting, they've shown interest in, Matthew Stafford and Mitch Trubisky, reportedly, are of the younger variety. At least Stafford's not that old anyway. So it seems like they love the idea of youth under center, and that's the way to go, whether that's Drew Lock or a first-round rookie going forward.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's one of those things where I think Alex Smith is someone you want to just as maybe after the fact kind of thing. And again, that'd be after you do the draft and do your due diligence. So definitely I feel you there. We got in the shop with Willie.
John,
what's up? John, what up, my man? I have no interest in Darnold. He's more expensive. We're going to be trading back and rolling with Locke. I'm here for it. And he's got the emojis perfect for it. So what are your feelings in terms of trading back? Who are you trading back? Who would you like? Are you looking for just the best player available? What are you looking for?
Well, obviously, when BPA meets need, that's the golden intersection right there. I don't know, though. I mean, I've been teasing it that the Broncos, and so is George Paton for months now, that they might trade down. But after that Penn State Pro Day, when Micah Parsons made such a resounding impact on George Paton, if he's there, I think it'll be a hard and long decision to trade back and pass up on someone like Micah Parsons. But assuming they do go back, what do they need most? They need an inside linebacker, they need a cornerback, or a safety. There's no real safeties I'm taking in the first round, at least not in the first 16 picks. If I'm moving down, I'm taking maybe JOK or Zaven Collins, or if Parsons falls, that would be the dream scenario. Move back to 15, pick up a second or third round pick, and land Micah Parsons. But I might move back for JC Horn. I might move back for Patrick Surtain if he gets past the Cowboys at number 10. They'll have choices, either cornerback or linebacker. So I think the Broncos are in a win-win position if they don't want a quarterback in the first 15 picks.
Exactly. I think I have the same feeling going on here. The Broncos are in a position where they have all the opportunity and flexibility built by this defense where we signed this year. So there's a lot of flexibility with the draft. You can go offensive tackle if you want, someone like Tavon Jenkins. Again, if you're looking for the future a little bit, because you're not going to have someone taking over Jawan James at this time. So for me, there's a lot of different names out there. But again, you can't take out, let's say, cornerback right now because the Broncos signed a bunch.
Exactly. Nor, like you made offensive tackle, that's a great point. They do need a hedge for the future for Juwan James. So whether it's Jenkins or maybe someone like Rashawn Slater, who is my OT1 in this draft or my OL1 in this draft, I would not hate that draft pick, but I would not take a tackle or an offensive lineman number 9. You'd have to trade down for that scenario.
And we got KR in the house with $5. Just saying, yes, the Queen saying Sunday fun day. It is. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you're having a great time. We got Glenn also coming in here as well with $4.99. Legitimately asking, with most blaming Drew's struggles on coaching, if he balls out this year, does that mean Shermer is a good offensive coordinator? Hope 3 succeeds.
If he balls out this year, so that means we're giving Drew Lock no credit if he balls out this year. It's just all Pat Shurmur's doing. But yet it's funny that Drew Lock got all the criticism last year and Pat Shurmur got none of the criticism when they both did not have great seasons. Listen, I'm willing to call a spade, and I'm right there with you, Glenn. I hope 3 succeeds as well. I'm not going to, say Drew Lock is the quarterback for the next 10 years and they can't upgrade on them. Whoever is the quarterback for this season and going forward, I will root for. But you have to also attribute and acknowledge his growth. And any Broncos fan that wants to be a little bit objective, be a little bit unbiased, you saw the growth in the second half of the season from Drew Lock. There's no favoritism in there. There's no theorizing in there. That's a fact. You saw him grow up in the second half of the season. So I'm willing to give Pat Shurmur credit because I want him to succeed. Because if Pat Shurmur succeeds in his job, which last year he did not do at all, that means Drew Lock will. And if Drew Lock succeeds, that means the Broncos offense will. And if the Broncos offense will, you follow where I'm going with this, John? That means the Broncos will do well. And they'll be a playoff team more than likely. So I want to come on this podcast in hopefully, mid-February, celebrating a Broncos title. How great would that be? And I'd love to get on here and go crazy about Pat Shurmur and acknowledge him and compliment him. But I will believe he does a great job when I see it.
Yeah, I'm with you in the same mindset. Obviously, if Drew is able to overcome the adversity that he has and develop further, you can't just blame one factor or give the success and attributes to one person. It's everyone in there. It's the wide receivers working with Drew Lock more, whatever it may be. You can't just say the coach was doing it, or you can't just say it was the player. It was a multitude of situations that caused that.
Well, and Glenn also chimes in here. Shurmur has been criticized. He's universally despised. I don't think that's true. I mean, I'm not his biggest fan. I don't think John is, nor Chad, nor a lot of Broncos country, but he's not getting the same vitriol and did not get the same vitriol last year as Drew Lock. It seems like Broncos fans want to quickly criticize the quarterback and X him out and cancel him before they cancel Pat Shurmur. The excuses that flew for Pat Shurmur, he didn't have an offseason, he has injuries, and he had the pandemic, and he had all this. Those excuses did not fly for Drew Lock. So we have to be fair as well. Both can be criticized, both were the problem, and we have to hope that both are the solution, not one or the other.
Exactly. Let's go with Fat Cats here with another $5 donation. What's good, fellas? I'm a little tired of the QB talk. I feel you. It's been since the beginning of the Broncos have ended their season, but it seems like to bring out the best of Lock haters. Let me read that again. It seems to bring out the best in the Lock haters. Good to put a face with the name beast. Thank you so much. It's so great to finally speak with you in person, Fat Cats. I know always you're coming in here beforehand and giving supers even when you're about to dip out. So I really do appreciate that. And yeah.
And we're going to have that merch soon. We're going to have the Priest and the Beast t-shirts made up because of you, PK. We appreciate you. And listen, I'm tired of the quarterback talk, and I'm kind of tired of seeing the Drew Lock supporters versus the Drew Lock haters and whatever camp you're on, the narratives out there. I just want a resolution one way or the other. And I think obviously by April 29th, the first round of the draft, we will know which direction the Broncos are going, because by then there'll either be a veteran in the building, a rookie in the building, or no one. And we know for sure it'll be Lock in 2021.
Perfect. Yeah. So just a quick question for you personally. We've been obviously seeing Paton go on some trips to different, pro days. What are your thoughts coming this 30th? Is he going to head on over to OSU, or is he going to go ahead and take a look at Mac Jones at the same time? I think that will indicate a lot if the Broncos are a potential opportunity to trade up with Atlanta or not.
Yeah, but I wouldn't read too much into that because he can only go to one. He's one person. So whatever he doesn't go to, he's going to get criticism. If he doesn't go to Mac Jones, people are going to say he has no interest. If he doesn't go to Fields, they're going to say he's not going to trade up. He will send a scout. He better send a scout to one of that he's not going to. The Broncos will have eyes on a quarterback, but obviously him being there, him being a longtime scout, and him loving the scouting business, it will carry a little more weight, but don't read too much into anything. I think he knows by now what's realistic, what isn't realistic, what quarterback is ranked here. I don't see Fields still getting out of the top 6-7 picks. I don't see George Paton, John, trading up for any quarterback in this draft, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence included.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an interesting point because I know that Mac Jones had a pro day prior to this one. The Alabama is having 2 pro days, and no one was sent from the Broncos at that time. At least Peyton wasn't. I'm not sure if there was another scout not sent. So definitely he had the opportunity to look at both quarterbacks separately. But still, at the end of the day, you're still having to give up quite a bit to get up to number 4 to make that pick solidified as you're going to get that quarterback number 4, whoever that may be. Which would likely be Fields. It
has to be Fields. Yeah, I was going to say the first 3 picks are pretty much set in stone. It's Lawrence, it's Zach Wilson, and it's Trey Lance more than likely. So the Broncos are going to be left battling the Falcons, battling the Panthers, battling whoever else wants to maybe trade up for Justin Fields, like the Patriots. They can't be discounted. I don't think, and this is just my gut feeling, I could be completely wrong. Wouldn't be the first time this offseason. I don't think the Broncos are that high on Mac Jones. And it's funny because he actually reminds me a lot of Kirk Cousins and a lot of Case Keenum, 2 former Vikings quarterbacks. I just don't think Peyton thinks that's the way the NFL wind is blowing. Someone like Mac Jones, who has the upside of like a Daniel Jones. It just doesn't translate to today's NFL. I personally believe he really fell in love with Trey Lance at his pro day. And it's unfortunate because he's not going to have any chance to actually acquire him. So I don't know that him not going to the Alabama Pro Day, there's other prospects out there as well. There's a bunch of Alabama draftable prospects. It's not just the quarterback, but I don't think he's that high on Mac Jones personally.
Yeah. Let's get to Drew here. He came on the show the other week, and it was great to see him. There's a dilemma. Locke might turn into something. If he doesn't, next year's draft isn't great for quarterbacks. We'll be stuck with more rentals for a couple years. What do you do?
Well, there's Aaron Rodgers, who the Broncos are somehow, rumored to be in a future trade discussion for. There's quarterbacks out there like, who saw Deshaun Watson being available? Who saw Russell Wilson being available? They can make a play for one of those quarterbacks. And I don't usually advocate for getting late career quarterbacks, but you put Russell Wilson on the Broncos right now. You put Aaron Rodgers on the Broncos right now with those weapons, with that defense. You're talking about an instant playoff team. It's unfortunate, though, because Drew's right. The quarterback prospect in next year's class aren't as tantalizing on paper right now. But we talked about this, I believe, Thursday. Zach Wilson wasn't tantalizing a year ago right now anyway. There's quarterbacks that always rise up the board, and I believe we'll see that next year. But the Broncos, if they have a good season or a middling season, they'll not be in the top 10. So it really is a conundrum what they want to do. And that's why I don't discount George Paton maybe stacking future draft picks like John mentioned, because he can see 2, 3, 4, 10 moves down the road. He's playing 4D chess. So he might be hedging against Locke bombing with the idea he'll have ammunition to trade up next year, because someone inevitably always does will come along.
Yeah, and that's what the great thing is about having Peyton in this situation. He has a 6-year deal. He has time to develop and take a step back and really look at the bigger picture and develop this roster how it needs to be done. There's going to be a lot of moves made next year with Sutton's deal coming up. A lot of different deals are coming up. Chubb as well. So you got to set out money for that, and you're not going to have the money really, honestly, to pay a Drew Lock immediately or anything like that. Right. So it's a huge dilemma, and I do think the Broncos are going to be in some rental services until they're able to get a quarterback that really, either Locke is the guy or they're going to have to build this team up again.
Yeah, and to Dylan's point here, sorry, John, he says betting on next year's class is such a big risk. Anything's a big risk. The NFL is a big risk. Drafting a rookie like Trey Lance is a risk. Trading for Deshaun Watson is a risk. Say what you want about that. So the Broncos, if they have to go forward with Locke under center and then looking to 2022, there will be a quarterback that no one sees coming right now that will be in the top 10 of most NFL mock drafts a year from now. Mark my words.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was really going into this draft thinking too highly of Trey Lance. He was an idea and they understood his raw ability, but with having a lot of people opting out, of course he stayed on the forefront of the mind. No one had the opportunity to jump really in this draft class, so definitely there's definitely some risk. And even if you get that top quarterback like RG3. One slide incorrectly where exactly. you get your Neil brace caught in there, your career is over. So every single pick is a risk. And even if you go with Parsons, you could have a Reuben Foster kind of thing. So it's definitely a risk reward kind of deal that you have to do.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
And to be fair, as Clifton says here, because we are fair on the show, starting Locke in week 1 is a risk because he's not proven, because he didn't take the mantle last year and establish himself as a franchise quarterback. So to my point to Dylan's question or Dylan's comment, everything is a risk, including starting Drew Lock. You have to just be hopeful that Peyton mitigated that risk and is going with the risk that could pay off the best.
Yeah, definitely. So real quick, we got a Facebook question. Do you have any offensive tackle sleepers at this time? For me personally, if we're talking down the line, I really like Doyle, I believe his name is, Tommy Doyle from Miami of Ohio. So if you're looking way down the list, if the Broncos were to miss out, he's someone I'd be looking into. James Hudson. But at the same time, at 71, there's a lot of players there. And Spencer Brown from Northern Iowa or Dylan Randez from North Dakota State as well. So I'm not sure who you're thinking of targeting and where you would. What would you be looking to target that next tackle?
You named 2 guys, including Spencer Brown, who I'm very high on. I wouldn't be surprised if he's drafted way sooner than most people think. I wouldn't wait that long for a tackle. I think they should make that pick no later than the 3rd round. I mean, they can maybe wait on a safety now because they have Kareem Jackson back in the fold. Even though this is a very top-heavy safety class, I don't think they'll wait on cornerback or inside linebacker, but I would prioritize tackle if they could, because they cannot wait on the Calvin Andersons and the Jake Rogers and hoping that people converted guards like Elijah Wilkinson pay off. They have to invest in a blue-chip tackle, and I wouldn't be surprised. This is a sleeper move in the 1st round. If they do move back from 9, let's say they move to 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, whatever, in that range, they could go for a Jenkins. They could go for a Rashawn Slater if he falls. Why do I get the feeling, John, that Sewell is going to fall a lot more? He's going to kind of slip more than than people are predicting. I think that could happen. If that's the case, Broncos could move down to 15, pick Sewell up, get a 2nd or 3rd back. So don't be surprised if they do move back. Sleeper tackle could be a sleeper move in the 1st round.
And the reason why Slater can definitely jump up is he can play, any 4 or any 5 of the positions, really, if you wanted him to. Obviously, guard would be preferable. But if you're not ready to put him at tackle, he could be your guard if something goes wrong, and then he could swing back out to tackle. So he definitely has that ability as well, which is giving him above Sewell and maybe having some teams say, maybe I do want him as number 1. Because, again, looking back at someone, let's say, like Robert Gallery back in a while ago with the Raiders,
that's her name right there.
Right? But you took him at 3rd overall. You had this huge contract. At least he had the ability to move inside after all of that.
Wow. I totally forgot about Robert Gallery. Wow. That's going way back. What a character he was.
Yeah.
I mean, he had all the upside in the world. Wasn't he drafted, 1 or 2, or it was top 5, wasn't it?
It was 1, 2, or 3. The Raiders were very high on him, and he just, all the power to him. He made, he didn't have what it took at tackle, but he made it as a guard and got paid handsomely.
Yeah, I mean, I remember him being so mercurial, though. He was always one little trigger away from going off, like Kyle Turley from the Saints. Remember him throwing helmets and everything? So another classic Raiders pick, John.
Exactly. We got Calvin Hamilton coming in here with $5. Thank you so much. It's great to be able to speak with you tonight. Hey, Broncos country, whomever at quarterback, it need to be resolved. Too much talent on both sides to have another losing season. No more excuses. I agree. There's no more excuses. What can you say? I mean, what position is there really a weakness besides? Yes, you could get another rotational player to work in at inside linebacker with Jewell and Johnson and have it be kind of a 3-headed monster for Fangio to work with. But other than that, you need another defensive lineman to rotate in. Again, just a lot of rotational pieces that are needed. You really just need that quarterback piece to resolve, to resolve this. And unfortunately, we don't have the ability to really check on Locke right now and see how he's developed. Is he learning the playbook well? Is he's, beyond doing simple, half field reads?
But this also ties into my previous comment where it just seems like coaching is forgotten because the Broncos, there's no more excuses for the Broncos coaching staff either. What's Pat Shurmur's excuse now? He has continuity. The Broncos have a loaded offense, and he's billed as this quarterback guru and this quarterback whisperer. Well, it's time to step up and earn your salary, which I'm sure is handsome. So it also... There's no excuses, and things have to materialize on both sides. I mean, both sides by not offense and defense, but players and coaches. They all have to pull their own weight, and one side can't be ignored because that side, coaching, was a big part, and you can argue the main reason why they didn't do well in 2020.
Yeah, definitely. So let's move on to one quick comment here from Michaela. Got it through the back end. Give me 1 second. Michaela just saying MHH, hashtag MHH, hashtag Denver Broncos for life, hashtag say no to Darnold. Right, and I feel like at this point, Zach, you've said no to Darnold pretty. It's in you. I don't sense you want Darnold for a 4th, a 5th. I mean, you want a conditional 7th, maybe.
It's not so much the draft pick, John. It's taking on that type of quarterback when you already have that type of quarterback in Drew Lock. You already have that guy on the roster. You have your Sam Darnold. Now develop him. Now try to unlock Drew and get him to that second level instead of taking on someone else's baggage when you've proven you can't fix your own. It'd be irresponsible to me. I don't care about the draft pick.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, To me, there's so many other players to get out there, especially with Jacksonville right now, with them signing CJ Beathard, who I thought was an option. I mean, you have to give some thought to Minshew being there really cheap. Just you have to give it a thought. I'm sure they've already discussed it. It's probably passed, but you have to look at all the quarterback options at this point. I mean, who else is left there on the market unless they're riding out with Drew Lock and Brett Rippon?
There's Nick Foles. That's what there is. I mean, there's not a lot out there. As much as I don't want Gardner Minshew, at least he's not broken. At least he wasn't ruined. The pressure of playing in New York, the media and the lackluster coaching and the lackluster offensive line play and the lackluster weapons, you wonder if he was Josh Rosen. You wonder if he was David Carr. You don't want that type of damaged goods on the roster. Fix your own. Eat what's on your plate before asking for seconds. That's my point.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And, this is a time where we needed Base Gase in here just to show the wackiness of Gase and to understand a little bit why Darnold is so broken at this point.
Exactly.
And beyond, at this point, for a lot of people, beyond the ability to redeem himself and have that opportunity, obviously. So we're going to get another super chat in here through the stream. We got Edward Keating. This one's a little bit more towards you, so I'll let you read it.
We appreciate you, first of all, Edward. It was nice having you on the show the other night as well. I have seen a lot of Lock haters today. Can't wait for the season to start and prove them all wrong. Thanks, John and Zach. Chad's on vacation, but we'll tell him you said thanks. Denver Broncos for life, hashtag state of being, hashtag let them hate, baby. Appreciate you, Edward.
Yeah, appreciate that. And when it comes to Lock, it's going to always be pretty divided. There's no way of being around the bush. That's how it always is.
I would say it's like Paxton Lynch, but Paxton Lynch had no supporters. I mean, within Broncos country, he had no fans. Everyone was against him. At least with Drew Lock, there's a faction of Broncos country that's on his side. But until this gets resolved, until he either bombs or he succeeds, we're going to get these divisive comments, and let him hate. We're here for it.
Yeah, exactly. And here was another name I didn't think about, though, real quick. Nick Mullins. Obviously, that's not a name you want. He's a Jag, but
he's a good Jag.
He's a good Jag, upper echelon of Jags.
Mm-hmm.
So he's definitely a name to keep an eye on. Why don't you pull a question real quickly while I get some comments from the back?
Yeah, you can grab that. I'm just about Nick Mullins. I tweeted about him a few weeks ago. I said it's the guy no one's really talking about. Obviously, he doesn't have the resume of an Alex Smith or of another quarterback on the open market, but I just think you can do a lot worse than grabbing a Kyle Shanahan disciple who has starting experience. He's still young, and he wouldn't come expensive at all. I mean, if someone like Trubisky can get a 2.25 from Buffalo, you can get Nick Mullins for, $2 million, and you have an experienced backup. CJ Beathard is another option. He has the Iowa, pro-style offense from Iowa. He has that under his belt. I wouldn't cry, but that would signal the Broncos were all in on Drew Lock, and we don't know that quite yet, John.
And we got a super night from our friend Black Knight, who handles Twitch for us. So obviously wanted to give him a shout out as well. $10 super, really appreciate that.
Thank you.
It's time for Lock to put up or shut up. No more BS, no more excuses. I'd rather us draft a quarterback in this draft, and if Lock bombs, then flip him for a pick.
First of all, Jeremy, I agree, and thank you for your support and your generosity. I agree. I mean, I'm a Drew Lock supporter. You can call me whatever you want to call me. It's up to him. If he bombs, he should be gone. He should be replaced. So there's no more excuses. He has continuity. There's no more cross your fingers, no injuries this year. He has an amazing supporting cast, and he has a coordinator who the Broncos are sticking by. But if you draft a quarterback, and Jeremy, I'm assuming you draft a quarterback you mean in the first round, there's no flipping Lock in that situation. The rookie quarterback would be the instant starter, and Lock wouldn't have any trade value. So it's either you go all in, you draft a first-round Q, whoever that may be at this point, and you move on from the Lock era, or you acquire a Nick Foles, or you acquire an Alex Smith, or you leave it as is with Brett Rippon, and you go all in on Drew Lock. I just don't feel the Broncos can have their cake and eat it too in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, if you want that kind of situation, you're going to have to give that pickup, give multiple picks up to trade up with Atlanta, and you're basically going away from the Peyton model, essentially. So I really, don't think that there's an option for the Broncos to move up with Atlanta here. It would cost the 9th overall pick this year. It would cost the first next year. It costs the second next year. It's going to cost a lot, and it's going to be towards the future. So, again, maybe there is that guy next year. Why don't you go ahead, Zach?
Well, I was going to say, I think I read somewhere, I'm pretty sure it was about the Falcons pick, that the starting price will be 3 future first rounders. So, 1 this year and at least 2 going forward, 3 first rounders in total. I'm not giving that up for an unproven rookie quarterback who's not even the best quarterback in this draft class. You give those first round pickups. I'm not even on board for that for Deshaun Watson, but you definitely do it for someone a little more proven than Fields, who, maybe hot take, I think Trey Lance is a better quarterback and will be a better pro than Justin Fields. Just me, though.
I actually have the same opinion when it comes to Fields. He's definitely the 4th quarterback on my list for me, by far. I haven't seen much spark from him in terms of what I'm looking for out of my quarterback. Now, again, if Shermer says this is what he needs for his offense, obviously that's a different kind of thing. And but again, I don't know who Shermer exactly wants for his offense. Casey Keenum. So he's not looking for someone exactly like a Fields. And I really think you're giving up a lot for him. And again, you just have an injury. He's done. And again, if Locke does well, what do you do with all those, picks that you gave? Are you going to give it exactly immediately to Fields, or are you going to trade him immediately, Locke? So a lot to think about there.
Yeah,
3 picks is way too high. I'm sorry. I'd rather wait to see what happens with some stuff down the road and see if you can trade for him later once some things clear up with everything that's going on.
And, I see Richie in the comments. Richie, you can disagree with me, but, the only quarterback I'm trading up for in this draft class is Zach Wilson. Trevor Lawrence is unattainable, so that's not realistic. And even then, it's a lot of capital, but he's, to me, a better fit right now and a better future pro than Fields will be. So it's not necessarily the capital. That is going to scare me off either way. 3 first rounders as the starting price, not even the final price. But to do it for someone like Fields, who's the quarterback 4 in this draft class, again, that's where I draw the line.
And again, if you're putting in Fields pretty early, that means things aren't going well for the Broncos as well. So you're going to be giving up the 9th overall pick and maybe, again, a top 10 overall pick next year that could have been used again in another deal. So want to get to in the shop with Willie again. Honestly, just want opening day to be here already. I can feel you in the regards that you want to see this team completely assembled and get going, but we still need to add the depth to the team. But I can see the roster skeleton working out, and you kind of want to get going.
It's a great term. Yeah, the skeleton's definitely in place. They're adding some muscle right now. They're trimming the fat away. So I like what I see so far. And it's another Sunday, John, without football. I'm already having withdrawals, and that's not BS. I'm legitimately missing football already. I wanted to be here. And I am, for the first time since 2015, I feel tangible, legitimate hope surrounding the Broncos. And I want to see that in action. I want to see the practical, become the reality. And I think we'll get a nice result this season.
Just want to give a shout out to Richie Rich real quick. Hey, how you doing? But let's see who else we got here. We got a first-time commenter from Marcos.
Nice.
Thank you so much for joining us. Jeremy S. is asking about Jeremiah Owuzua. I'm just going to say Jock.
J-O-K.
J-O-K. What are your thoughts about him? Does he fit in the Broncos defense at this time, or is he more of a gadget kind of player?
But he's more of a gadget player than Micah Parsons, but the Broncos defense can fit in a gadget player. Just like the Broncos offense should have fit in a gadget player like Phillip Lindsay, but that's a whole other discussion. J.O.K., they say, is a better coverage linebacker than Micah Parsons, so he has value there. But to me, he's more of the hybrid tweener, like you see Keanu Neal signing in Dallas. He played safety in Atlanta. Now he's going to start at weak side linebacker in Dallas. That's the way the NFL is going. It's a smaller type of safety / linebacker that can play in the box, can play in coverage, can cover tight ends. I wouldn't mind JOK, but I'm not spending the 9th pick on JOK. If they trade back to 13, 15, whatever, and take him, fine, but I'm not taking him at number 9. How about you?
I'm not taking him mid-round, honestly. I see the value of having him be in your locker room, but at this point, I'd rather get more serviceable player who can be a every down player that I can trust. I know how he's going to use. Go with a Baron Browning a little bit later, Jabril Cox. I mean, I know that they have a difference in terms of their coverage ability, but those guys are pretty solid in coverage, and it can also make up for that difference when it comes to the running game. So that's a big thing for me, at least.
Those are great prospects as well. This draft chat. I told you I was going to say it at least once.
It's all right, Max.
Yeah, this is a weird commenter in the KK today calling me Max. But yeah, I mean, the Broncos, whatever linebacker they target, because they're going to come out of this draft with an inside linebacker. That guy, I pray, just cover tight ends, cover running backs, let Von Miller and Bradley Chubb get to the quarterback, let the secondary do their job, and just do that one job for Denver and end that Achilles heel. It's all I'm asking for.
Oh, I totally agree with you there. I mean, if you can get the guys just up front, you have Purcell, you have Harris, Draymond Jones. If you're able to have them plus Von Miller and Bradley Chubb be able to tee off at the ends, man, it's going to be dangerous. And it's one of those things where you don't have to send additional pressure like Alexander Johnson
right.
every single play up the A gap. So that definitely does bode well to having a more coverage scheme and would be great. So definitely we got Base Case in here.
Oh, there
How
he
great
is.
is it we needed him.
His ears
He's
must
making
be
our
burning.
point. Yes. And he is talking about what we were discussing earlier. Maybe we can discuss the Gase effect. We've seen players flourish. Obviously, Robbie Anderson, Tannehill, leaving that toxic team. We need honest competition for Locke, and let's see what he can do with better weapons. I mean, that's the big thing. That there is very little the Jets had to offer in terms of wide receiver. In my opinion, they had Mims as their third round pick last year. Denzel Mims out of Baylor, he wasn't able to play. They just had nobody going for them. Le'Veon Bell was was cut. They just had no one going for them. And besides that, on their offensive line, you had basically McGovern and Becton being their best, most reliable offensive linemen. I know that kind of sends a shiver down some Broncos spines to know that, McGovern was, one of the better, the offensive line for them in terms of just being stability. So definitely think there is a Gase effect. I agree with you there, Base Gase.
Yeah, I'm not disputing. I even made that point that coaching and Adam Gase ruined Sam Darnold. The lack of supporting cast ruined Sam Darnold, and I just don't think he's this salvageable, GOAT in the making like some fans make him out to be. But would he be? And I ask this question non-rhetorically: would Sam Darnold be honest competition for Drew Lock? Or would he, being a former number 5 overall draft pick who came via trade, the Broncos would give up a second round pick, let's say, would it be an honest competition, or would subconsciously or not the Broncos tilt that sort of in Darnold's favor? If they're going to give Lock competition, at least give it to Alex Smith. It would have been Trubisky. At least let it be someone with experience that Locke can lean on, but someone that Locke can also beat out in a competition. You can't send two different signals. It's either Locke's your guy or the quarterback you're bringing in is your guy. You can't have it both ways.
Let me ask you this. Does the locker room, in your opinion, is it strong enough, and does it have enough to be able to overcome two quarterbacks in the room and not, say, picking a guy, choosing favorites, having sides? Will they be able to handle a natural selection process? That's my question to you as well. Are they going to be able to handle that?
As long as they win. If they pick, let's say, if they have Darnold and Locke in the building and they pick Locke, if they start losing, they're going to blame the coaches for not picking Darnold. If they pick Darnold, they start losing, they're going to blame the coaches for not picking Drew Lock. Winning cures all. And if they don't win, there's always going to be the question of what if, should they have went this way, should they went that way? And that's why I'm of the mind, remove that scenario, remove that worry, and just have Locke be your guy for this season if that's the way you want to go.
Yeah, and real quick, it seems like we did lose a super from Drew. That all that means is tomorrow we'll go back, we'll get that to you, we'll get that answered. Obviously, it was a $20 super, so I really apologize for that.
We got you, Drew.
Yeah, we'll definitely make sure that's taken care of. That's on my end, so forgive me there. We got Dion coming in here, still talking about we need better coaching and better quarterback play, not luck. I mean, luck is a little bit a part of it. Always, you need that, good situations and no injuries. I think that sometimes can be partially luck, just not getting hit in the wrong way. But besides that, the coaches have to step up. Quarterbacks have to step up. There's no excuses, as we were talking about earlier. I really don't know what excuse you can say for having, 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. You have a plethora of guys able to work their way open. If it's not Sutton, Judy should be open. If it's not Judy, it should be right. Hamler. If not, Tim Patrick is the big guy going to be open. Noah Fant, where does this end? Melvin Gordon, again, if we can get him involved in the screen game a little bit more, get him.
What's a screen, John?
Well,
What's a screen? Haven't seen one in a year and a half.
Those have left pretty much since Manning, it feels like. Those bubble screens, all that stuff has pretty much gone.
Bubble screen.
Bubble, yeah.
That's a new term to me.
New term. But yeah, so it's one of those things where, better coaching has to be one of those key factors, and there's no way Locke can develop without those better coaching.
Two things real quick. I know we're getting a little low on time. We have 5 minutes till the hour mark. Yeah, it flies, John. You see now how fast it goes for Chad and I.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't know if this means good fortune as in luck or Andrew luck because luck is capitalized there. But they definitely, they can't rely on luck. But Andrew luck, if that's where you're going, Dion, they don't need him either. He's retired. And real quick, Tommy says Melvin can't catch. And I'm not going to pick on you, Tommy. And real quickly, though, isn't that the reason why they gave him $8 million? Isn't that the reason why Phillip Lindsay is gone? So now Melvin Gordon can't catch. But when you brought up Phillip Lindsay, everyone said, it's because Melvin Gordon is the better receiving back. All I'm going to say is this. The double standards sometimes in Broncos country are infuriating.
One thing I like to add to that, Melvin Gordon has had huge games in terms of reception and receiving yards when he was with the Chargers, able to score touchdowns, take a 5-yard dump off, and make it into a 30-yard play. So there's no reason that shouldn't be an option for him to do now. There's just nothing there to be an excuse. Again, no excuses for any player really at this point.
None. Zero. Even the rookies. There's no on this team with this roster on offense and defense, even the rookie players, there's no excuse for the impact guys in the first, second, third round to not come in and perform. So that's the mantra, John, of the Broncos 2021 season. From the coaching staff to the executives to the players, no more excuses.
I agree with you there. And going again with base case for a little bit more base case effect.
Appreciate you.
Do add on to my point of Dalton and Fitz were ideal quarterbacks as competition. Alex Smith, leg, and Foles' hip scares me. Mullins is okay. That's a great point about Foles and his hip. That was something I did forget about. And that does make sense why you would reach out for more of a Mullins kind of player. But again, when it comes to those injuries, if Alex Smith gets hurt, I think IR. If you do sign him, you put him on IR immediately if he's hurt, and his career's over.
Yeah,
that's what you have to look at it as with him. So definitely.
The thing with Foles, though, is he does have the Pat Shurmur connection because they intersected in Philadelphia. That would be pretty much the only reason that the Broncos would go for Nick Foles in a trade, because he's a veteran. He was, a Super Bowl quarterback. He has some experience there. But Dalton, he was my choice, but the Broncos don't want that type of middling, fail-safe. Fitzpatrick was never on my radar. I went over a whole KK, John, if you remember that, kind of took down that idea with gusto. Nick Mullins, I wouldn't mind because, again, he comes from a Shanahan system. He's experienced. I know he's not the greatest starting quarterback, but the Broncos likely aren't in the market's first starting quarterback, and he would come cheap. I don't know how much interest they have, probably none, but I wouldn't cry if Nick Mullins was the quarterback selection for the Broncos.
I agree with you there. I know we're a little bit pressed for time. So while I get a different super sticker up, why don't you answer this question from Aaron?
Sure.
Let me pull up this.
Aaron jumping in, $10 donation super chat. Thank you so much, Aaron. And I don't know, John, if that's a new name in our chat stream. I don't know if we've seen Aaron.
New to me.
Right.
It's new to me.
So if you're new Aaron, we definitely appreciate you joining us tonight, and welcome, and hope to see you around going forward. Don't leave out the O-line. They need to continue to improve. And a holdout, again, JJ. I assume that means Juwan James. I'm not leaving them out. I mean, a lot of Broncos fans have been saying, focus on defense, cornerback, inside linebacker, edge rusher, safety. They have to focus a little bit on offense, too. And the biggest need on offense, again, minus quarterback, is right tackle, because you cannot rely on Juwan James, who didn't play last year, who played 63 snaps in 2019, as being the long-term right tackle. They can get out of his contract after next season, not this coming year. I mean, not right now, but after next season, and they have to have a guy willing to step in, and that could be a rookie premium tackle. So I agree with you.
Yeah, definitely. And let's get one more come in. Why don't we get real quick, just say hi to a few people. Why don't you grab one while I'm trying to get this word from the back end? Yeah, sorry about this.
I'm just scrolling as well. I don't want to lose anything in the side chat here. Muhammad jumping in with the super sticker, the king of super stickers. We can't pull it, can we? No,
I can't. I'm having a little bit of trouble trying to do this all at once.
We're sorry, Muhammad. We're a little, we're flying by the seat of our pants tonight, but we appreciate your donation, your generosity as always, and you are a premium superstar, valued member of the podcast. So,
and his super sticker is a nice little heart saying thanks. Really do appreciate that, Muhammad. Appreciate all of you. I'm not really able to speak to you as often as I'd like, because as you can see, I'm needed in the back to make sure your super chats are taken care of. So we'll definitely work on that and get those to you tomorrow. But I really do enjoy being able to speak with you guys in the comments, able to work with all the different podcast hosts and personalities. It's really just a great experience, and I wanted to definitely give a shout out while I could. And ZW, Zachary Smouse in the house. He's done one of our designs for us. You can get at huddleuppod.com just because. And I really do appreciate that, Zachary. Obviously, it's been a while since I've spoken to you, but you're always in my mind, and really do appreciate all that you've done.
Thank you, Zachary, who has the best name known to man. We appreciate you. Yes. We got something from Christian, Team Jokic. It's Jokic, right?
Jokic, yeah.
Yeah,
I hope I'm saying that.
So you told me that. So when will Chad be back? And cut Jeff Driscoll, hashtag Denver Broncos for life. First of all, cut Jeff Driscoll yesterday. I don't know really what the Broncos are waiting for. I know they don't have to make a move right now, but you cut fat from around your roster already. What's Jeff Driscoll now? You cut Nick Van Nett. Make that move, but it's going to happen. It's a matter of when, not if. Chad will be back. I know he's on vacation Sunday to Sunday, John, so he's not going to be available next Sunday. You might see him, though. There might be a special appearance sometime this week, but he is a little MIA right now. And for the time being, this coming week, it's the John and Zach Huddle Up Podcast, Premium Edition.
And definitely looking forward to getting to speak with you guys a little bit more. Looking to improve from tonight, obviously, at the same time. But, hey, I had a lot of fun.
Always.
Why don't we wrap this up here?
Yeah.
Unless there's any other questions or something on your mind you want to get to.
I'm just scrolling through them. I think we got to everyone, our superstars. We try to incorporate the non-superstars as well. I'm just going through here.
And I'm going to go back, and again, if we miss someone, we'll get you tomorrow. You'll be immediately on the forefront. But until then, do you want to get us out of here, Zach?
Yeah, just be sure to follow the podcast I don't have the banners to pull up, John. So just kind of keep up.
I'll do it.
Yeah, Huddle Up Pod, follow the pod there. Follow at Mile High Huddle for the mothership account for all your Broncos news, analysis, deep dives, rumors, speculation, anything and everything. Follow John, that man, on Twitter, at John K MHH. Guys, as he proved tonight, he just said he is so instrumental in the production of the show. It wouldn't be what we have now without John. He is the real MVP. So be sure to follow him on Twitter at John K MHH. Follow me on Twitter at Kelberman NFL. We will be back tomorrow. Same time, same place, 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm pretty sure it'll be you and I, John. So we have that to look forward to. And again, guys, we're sorry that we're a little firing from the hip tonight, but we will get anyone's questions or super chats we did not get to tonight. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for interacting with us. An hour and 5 minutes flew by like it was nothing. I feel like we just got on here. It's crazy how fast it goes. And again, thank you, John, for that. Subscribe. Please like the video, and please share it out. Yes, I am begging. Yes, I am groveling. We need your support. It helps us immensely. It's a little bit that goes a long way, to quote our good moderator, Dylan. Thank you, guys. Take care. Have a great Sunday. Have a great rest of your weekend. We will see you tomorrow night. Take care. And as always, Go Broncos.
You've been listening to the Huddle Up Podcast. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.